Hello and welcome to your longest running Australian wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. My name is Lachlan Albert. I am here with the multiverse marauder, Trent O'Day. Trent, lovely to see you, man.
Good to see you, brother.
So, let's pitch you first.
Sure.
Someone who, coming from Townsville, you've won basically every bit of gold there is to win up there.
Yes.
Down here in Queensland, long-time interstate champion for Pro Wrestling League.
Yes.
Now we're here for the Pro Wrestling League Supershow with Renegades of Wrestling.
Yes.
We've got a tag team title match tonight.
Oh.
You and Sam Cannon going for the belt.
Put me over huge, brother.
I can't help it. I'm a fan.
You can't help, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, like, how does it feel to be on a show representing Queensland wrestling and Australian wrestling, being from, you know, we often talk about Queensland feeling underrepresented, but especially up north, that scene massively underrepresented. How does it feel coming to show that off to a wider audience?
I mean, like, yeah, so, like, obviously that's, like, a massive question, right? And, like, there are different facets to every part of the answer for it. So, first of all, like, representing Australian wrestling is really exciting and something that I probably never thought that I would do, but it's really exciting to, like, be with the guys and girls here and, like, represent with the country and the guys that you grow up with, and that's really cool. In terms of representing Queensland wrestling, I think I feel an immense sense of pride to be a part of where Queensland wrestling is right now. Like, I don't think any of us are under any illusions that Queensland wrestling was the joke for quite the butt of the joke for quite a long time. To see us be able to actually grow and get a little bit better each and every year and put together something of this magnitude and quality is really exciting. And then when you talk about Townsville, it's just another sense of, like, level of pride, man. Like, you know, are we the biggest federation in the country? Absolutely not. Do we have the most passionate fans? Like, I'd like to think we're up there, like, because they just love everything we do up there. And to be able to come down here and represent what feels like almost a completely another state. Like, if you're honest with yourself, like, you know, Queensland is so strongly Brisbane-centric with a lot of feds being around here. To come from Townsville, which is effectively what feels like another total part of the country, and represent them is really, really special.
It's not a 2-hour drive.
No,
right?
like it's a 2-hour plane flight just to get here. And, you know, with the floods and everything that have been going on up there, and the fact that we had to cancel our show due to the weather and, like, all of this other stuff, like, to come down here and just be like, you know, Queensland, QWA, North Queensland, Townsville is still part of the conversation. And it's not just me. Sam Cannon is also here, who is a phenomenal talent. Like, Bojack is here. He's moved up to us. He's a phenomenal talent. To say, like, QWA is firmly part of the conversation is really exciting and fills me with a big sense of pride.
Yeah, and, like, you know that I'm a big fan of QWA. I've said it plenty of times, but especially having you come in with this tag team scene, right, and knowing that you spent a lot of time outside of Townsville doing the tag team scene as part of Bro Day. Shout out to the Bro Day podcast, right? Like, let's go back, you know, bread versus cheese and all that stuff, right?
Bread bros, cheese fam.
But how does it feel? Is it different to be in a tag team with someone other than someone you're so used to tagging with?
You would think so. So, like, obviously, like, Gabe and I have a phenomenal friendship and a phenomenal relationship, and obviously he's gone on to bigger and better things now, which is amazing. And tag team wrestling has always held a very special part of me as a person, as a performer. Like, tag team wrestling is always something that I've really thoroughly enjoyed. You would think jumping to Sam Cannon would be a bit of a jarring realization, but people seem to forget Sam and I were in a tag for almost a year. Like, Sam and I were in Destiny for a very long time before Bro Day was ever a thing. Sam and I are not unfamiliar with each other. Sam and I know each other very well. Sam and I don't always, or haven't always seen eye to eye, but when we get on fantastically. And, you know, this is a chance for us to sort of wind back the clock a little bit and do something together and do something special, but do something with both of us having completely different skill sets now. Where we weren't the same team we were 3 years ago. We weren't the same two people we were 3 years ago. And I think it'll be really exciting to show that off on such a big scale.
And I do think that sometimes when you have a show like this where you've got people from different promotions coming in, there's kind of a preconceived notion that it's going to be like, oh, the people who are from the company will retain. You know, like, is there an urge to prove people wrong and to come out, like, really show out as a performer?
This is where I start to get a little frustrated, because I don't subscribe to the notion that wrestling is predictable. I don't subscribe to the notion that you know, these things are are in the bag for any performer before they walk out there. Like, this is something that I'm passionate about, and something that Sam and I are both very passionate about. We've talked about it at length before we came here. And I think people also forget, which I haven't been able to talk about, I'm undefeated in ladder matches. I lost my finger. So for those who don't know, top knuckle amputation in a ladder match. My first ever ladder match. Lost it, won the title. Lost my finger, won the title. Every ladder match I've had since then, I won. I'm 3-0 currently. I don't plan on going 3-1. Like, and that's as blunt as I can be about this.
It's a good record to hold.
It's a great record to hold, and I promise you, like, I don't lose ladder matches. And if that continues tonight, then can't say I didn't tell you so.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I also want to talk about, obviously we talked about representing Queensland, but it feels like, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but when people think about QWA, you're at the forefront of that, right? And the more that you've come down to Brisbane, the more there's kind of been like a question of how much do you represent QWA versus, you know, kind of the face, I guess kind of the face down here is Bobby Bishop when it comes to pro wrestling. Like, do you feel like you want to be known as more than just a QWA guy? Do you want to kind of have that, you know, push to be up there
the
with
face
the
of Queensland?
I mean,
all right, look, well, I'm going to get, this isn't at you, but I'm going to get frustrated because this is sort of the whole reason that I've been as staunch on this as I possibly can be. So I first of all, I appreciate that people think when they think of QWA, they think of me. I purely think that that's an exposure thing. I think that the more that people watch QWA, the more that they should look at people like Seth Tylers and Sam Cannon and Bojack. And I think that if people look at QWA and think of me, then they haven't looked at QWA enough. That being said, this is the exact reason I have an issue with Bobby Bishop. Because people think of Queensland wrestling and everything I get asked is, oh, that's Bobby Bishop. I can't tell you how disrespectful it is to have Queensland wrestling boiled down to Bobby Bishop. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when you have people
and I'm
like...
sorry to ask the question in
fine,
that way, but
when you have people like Sam Cannon, like Bojack, like myself, like Seth Tylers, like Zeke Andino, like Mitch Ryder, like Tim Hayden when he was wrestling, like Little Mars and, you know, Lucille Brawl when she was wrestling. Like, when you have all of these names, Billy Mack, Eugenie, Culture, do you know what I'm saying? And yet all of a sudden everyone gets boiled down to Bobby Bishop, and Bobby Bishop being the saving grace. And he goes on these massive tirades and these lovely inspiring promos about him putting Queensland wrestling on his back. Do you know what leaders don't do? Leaders actually don't go out there and claim that they're putting things on their back. They actually delegate. That's what a leader's job is. You delegate responsibility and you share the load and you share the opportunity and you lift everyone. By saying that you're putting it on your own back is lifting yourself and pressing down everyone else. I'm sick of Bobby Bishop pressing down everybody else, and I get it. I'm not wrestling him tonight. I get that, and I understand that people are like, oh, well, they're yelling at each other online. They're probably having a match. No, we're not wrestling each other tonight. We're not touching each other tonight. But I promise you, I might not get to wrestle the Don. I might not get to wrestle Jack Bonza. I might not get to wrestle a bunch of other people in that match. Dean Brady, Lockie Hendricks. I might not get to wrestle any of those people. But if I make enough noise, I can at least probably wrestle Bobby Bishop. So I can prove to him and prove to everybody else that Queensland wrestling is not just Bobby Bishop. Queensland wrestling is Trent O'Day. Queensland wrestling is Sam Cannon. It's Seth Tylers. It's Culture. It's everyone else. And if I can just squash the notion that Bobby Bishop is Queensland wrestling, then I will have done my job, and all of my yelling into the void will have not been for naught. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I have ranted a little bit.
No, like, I totally agree with what you're saying, right? Yeah, I'm going to lead you a little bit away from that because I see that it's working you up,
yep,
right?
Fair enough.
So I want you to come across well here. So I want to quickly talk about how great it is to see Kick Out merch doing some awesome stuff. And I've noticed some new stuff coming out from you there with this violently unique, uniquely violent thing. Are you able to talk on that at all?
Well, I mean, when are you putting this out? Because by the time that this potentially goes out, I think everyone's going to get a very good look at what uniquely violent and violently unique actually means. But let's just say that I spent so much time focusing on the universes around me that I never actually focused on what was going on inside my own. And I think that it's time that that finishes. I think this marauding phase is over. I think I've got my spot. My spot is here. My home is here. My home is Townsville. And what that means is I've got to shift focus a little bit. So I think the Multiverse Marauder was fun while it was a thing, but this time I'm doing something a little different.
All right. Well, on that note, Trent O'Day, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you very
Catch you
much
next
for that.
time.
Absolutely. Thank you.